friends, my fellow classmates. I read your comments about how you're having a hard time with the research and interpreting class, and most of your comments talked about the intro and what the intro is supposed to cover and how we're supposed to do this. Well, I would just like to thoroughly explain what I did for my intro. So this is my intro paragraph. This is what it looks like. And the first thing you have to state in your intro paragraph is your question. So my question pertains to simultaneous communication. So here is the question. By reviewing previous literature, this article aims to better understand the possible benefits of simultaneous communication, SIMCOM, and the reasons why interpreters talk negatively about SIMCOM. So this one sentence alone, you can automatically assume that this research article, that this literature review, is going to cover two questions. What are the possible benefits of simultaneous communication, and why do interpreters talk negatively about simultaneous communication? So your intro paragraph, the very first sentence, has to introduce the question. You shouldn't state it as a question, right? You should state it as a regular sentence. Then the next sentence is clarifying the terms you are going to use, because simultaneous communication relates to deaf people. But how are you going to refer to deaf people? Is it going to be capitalized? Is it not going to be capitalized? You need to make sure that your paper has consistency. So use one term, capitalized or not capitalized. So this is what I did. Firstly, for the sake of simplicity, the word deaf will be used for people who have hearing loss, whether they subscribe to the deaf culture or not. So there it is, you use a blanket term, but you have to let your readers know that you're going to use this term as a blanket term. Because this term, deaf capitalized, is supposed to only relate to people who actually subscribe to the deaf culture. But for the sake of simplicity, you're going to use it as a blanket term only for this literature review. And the next thing is you want to give a basic definition of the main topic. And the main topic for me is SIMCOM, simultaneous communication. So prior to proceeding, one must first understand that SIMCOM is the action of communicating with sign and speech together. So depending on your research question, you want to give a basic definition. So if your research question is about tactile, you have to give a basic definition. If your research question is about carpal tunnel or repetitive motion injury, then give a basic definition about that. So to review, the first sentence should introduce your question. The next sentence should add some clarifying information about what terms you are going to use, and then a basic definition. And then you want to do a basic summary of what your literature review is going to cover. So I'm going to read it now. Such an action being simultaneous communication, may require the brain to work harder. Many studies have suggested that SIMCOM facilitates comprehension. And that is a direct statement. You have to remember, any direct statement has to be cited. That's a no-brainer. Moving on. Moreover, SIMCOM is valuable in aiding the process of learning English and assisting cochlear implanted students. SIMCOM has been used in many educational programs, such as colleges, by model bilingual schools. Sadly, there is no evidence of SIMCOM being used in the interpreting field of American Sign Language, ASL. The absence of SIMCOM in interpreting may be because of the negative perceptions interpreters have about SIMCOM. The negative perceptions may include blah, 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 blah. So, from this information right here, you can automatically assume the basic outline that my literature review is going to follow. The first thing that we're going to talk about is what is SIMCOM, because I gave a basic definition. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is what is SIMCOM. I'm going to expand on this basic definition. And then I'm going to talk about how the brain responds to SIMCOM, because I made this claim saying that SIMCOM facilitates comprehension. So I need to expand on that. And then I talked about the possible benefits, the process of learning English, assisting cochlear implanted students. And then I'm talking about the settings, colleges, bimodal, bilingual, and the interpreting field. And then I'm talking about the negative perceptions. So you're giving a basic summary of what your literature review is going to cover. My literature review is going to cover what is SIMCOM, how the brain responds to SIMCOM, the possible benefits of SIMCOM, the settings in which SIMCOM is used, and how interpreters perceive SIMCOM. So just to review again, your intro needs to the very first sentence needs to be your question, right? Your research question, clarify the terms you're going to use, basic definition, and then a basic summary of what your literature review is going to cover. And that is a basic intro to a literature review. This is what I use, this is what I did. You don't have to do it my way. It really does depend on what your research question is about. But this is just a basic, very basic idea of what an intro should have. So I hope that helps. If you have any other questions, please just let me know.